During the conversation, you mentioned that India has a heft, and India, we have a clout, and we also claim our sphere of influence as far as Indian Ocean region is concerned. I'm coming to the IRS Dana betrayal incident. We hosted and American sank. Where is the heft and where is the cloud that we talk about?
There are two things. One thing is that you have to see the behavior of the Americans. Secondly, we have conducted these Milan exercises.
Yes, sir.
32 countries, I think, navies were participating in this. The Iranian Navy, after participating, was returning. It was out of our waters. It was
Correct.
not the Indian waters.
Correct.
It was the international waters. Now, that's where we don't have a control. It's not our responsibility to escort the ships to their port. America and Iran are at war. Now, legally you may say that it was a violation of the international law, that this was an armed ship or whatever it is. But that was between them. So, in the meantime, while that Dana ship was sunk by the Navy, only thing is related to this question is another dimension to it, which I'll just tell you.
Sure.
But the fact is that the moment the Iranians, other two ships which were there, out of the three, asked for India to provide them the berthing, we immediately did that. And they were escorted to Kochi. And thereafter, India also helped in Sri Lanka, sending these bodies back of the sailors, whatever was available. From there, 70, 80 sailors we sent back to Iran. So, from our part, it has optics which are definitely not right. But Iranians understood that. That is not India's fault. From India's perspective, you have to see that having a friendship with the United States can also backfire on you sometimes in the international domain. And that is what I think that our establishment will be looking at very carefully. Publicly, whatever it is there, we are not in the wrong ourselves. But who is in the wrong, everybody knows.
Sir, very rightly said, exactly from an India perspective. Because, if I see certain statements, Brahmachalani said that it's a strategic embarrassment. Admiral Arun Prakash said it's treachery. Now, if I draw...
what? Treachery?
Yeah. Now, if I draw two parallels, there is a very... lot of experts have said it on various forms of media that today, the war which is happening is basically whatever happened in Venezuela, whatever is happening in the Middle East. In a way, it is a messaging to China, right, from US. And if I draw a parallel from there, because China was something that who said that we are growing and we are going to be the next. It could be it was a competition to US, right, and US is here to prove that no, we are still numero uno, right. So there's some messaging that we'll choke your supply lines. On the other hand, is it fair to assume that this IRS Dana incident that has happened is a message to India also that you may claim yourself to be a Vishwa Guru, you may claim sphere of influence, but we really don't pay much attention and importance to that?
Well, I wouldn't put it that crassly, because this is not really a message to India. But even if it is not a message, we need to understand it in that language, frankly. Because there is a lesson in all activities that are happening there for improving our own strengths, right? Whether it is our intelligence, whether it is our maritime coordination, whether it is to find other alternate ways of doing it, or beefing up our own navy, naval assets. So there is a signal in that sense. Not messaging directly maybe for you, it was just done to, because United States, one objective was also to demolish the Iranian Navy completely, which they have achieved too significantly, right? So this was part of that design. Not necessarily to tell India, okay, brother, you just mind your business or something like this. Not that. We have agreements with them, which is called LEMUA, with the Americas, 4 foundational agreements we have signed, in which we have provided them facilities that are, in the case of wars or something, to come on our, ports, and we'll provide assistance to them. Basically, logistical assistance. Now, those are the things that we'll have to tweak. Under what circumstances? Because this is not one of those circumstances that was desirable from our security perspective. So that's precisely the case. So there is a learning, there may not be a message, but if I was an intelligence officer or if I was a person who was formulating my policy, I will definitely take into account.
So you've called India, you proposed this idea of India being an interlocutor, right? I read it and I saw it in one of your messages, right? Now, do you think after this incident, Iran will trust India's credibility of being an interlocutor?
I don't know. I mean, you have to see the language coming from the Iranians. They are saying that India is the only country that can talk to everybody. Their ambassador yesterday, after meeting Jaishankar, he clearly said, you may have seen his statement. Now, if he is saying so, his foreign minister is saying so, Prime Minister Modi is talking to President Pezeshkian, and he is talking to all the others, including Israeli. Now, which other country has that kind of possibility of talking to all sides? Just tell me one.
So so there are two ways to look at it. There's always a absolute scale, there's a relative scale, right? Now in this case, I could be topping in my class, but my percentages could be 70. Now in case, do you think on a relative scale we are number one, or as a diplomat you feel that on an absolute scale also we have really hit the ceiling in terms of?
No, the thing is that you have to look at it this way. Everywhere you have to find an optimal solution, and you have to see what cards you have and how much heft you have with those countries. As I said in the beginning, that as far as Israel is concerned, it is the only country that can really make them come to the table or stop in their tracks is United States, no other country, because they depend heavily on US for their security. That's why, not for love for America or something like that. And Netanyahu always telling President Trump, my great friend, this, that, and all, we blindly, everything goes on. Iranians understand that India will not take a side. India will directly talk about it. Then we are also the chair of the BRICS this year. And Iran is a BRICS country, UAE is a BRICS country, Saudi Arabia is also in that. So that also brings another dimension to it. And that's why they are asking India that, okay, as a BRICS chair, you must try to do something also. So we are doing bilaterally, we are doing trilaterally, we are doing regionally. So that is something that we need to have a look at it. But I say not a mediator, because if you are a mediator, then you should have that kind of punching power also at the same time. If you don't listen to me, I'm going to fix you, man. That's not there. What is there is that trying to, okay, this is your problem, man, this is your problem. How can we solve that problem? That is something that is required, provided both sides agree to it. And both sides have said, yes, Israelis have said India is the only country we can talk to. When I had written an article in the Israel-Gaza war, I think you may have read that. That time I suggested that 3 or 4 countries should be there. Then I was approached by one of their senior fellows, and he said, all these 3 you cut out. India is the only country we will allow to talk about this, or we will listen to them. So this is why I'm saying is that you see that United States will talk to Iran and tell them no. Russia, no. Again they can side. China, no. Which are the other countries? Middle East, no. So which country is talking to both sides at the same level? It's only India which has that. So you are respected in that sense and you have that power. That's why Modi ji is talking to all these leaders 3 times. Not only just for our own interest, because see, if the war goes beyond a threshold, it will be disastrous for us also. So it's in our own interest to try and contribute to stopping this war. That's what precisely India is trying to do.
So you mentioned about BRICS. Among the founding members of BRICS, there's one country which has issued a statement of deep concern and not condemned the US-Israel strikes, and which is India. The rest have,
US-Israel strikes?
Yeah, on Iran. So we have issued a statement of deep concern. Now I want to understand first, is that different from condemnation in terms of degree? And if it is different, then why, especially if the Middle East is so strategic to us for our own needs, why for our own needs we have not condemned it, and rather than just given a deep concern?
If I ask you something, you tell me that if I say, okay, I condemn the United States or Israel for this attack, am I going to achieve anything? Except semantics. Please tell me any substantive thing you will get.
So,
You will close that door that is open to you to mediate, to interlocute, to send some signals to that.
yeah.
You have taken a side. We don't want to take a side. The idea is that now this war is going on. This is from the day one. Now you see the statement, two statements came from government, and they're very well calibrated statements, in which the key thing was that we said it, that who attacked Iran. So we just condemn this kind of a thing. But at the same time, we also don't like this, what Iran is doing against the Gulf countries. So you understand, our situation is not, we are not a distant country. This is our extended neighborhood, what is happening there.